All right, Warriors, here's a Monday One Take Wonder. This week, we're going to be at the Koger Senior Living Center for Venture Vets. Um, so don't go to the church. We'll be at the Senior Living Center connecting with some of the old-timer vets that we have there. Um, it's really about it for this week. Coming up on the end of July already, which is kind of crazy. But this week, I did have a passage I wanted to share with you guys. This is from Nehemiah chapter 4, verses 1 through 14. So a couple weeks ago at Venture Vets, we were talking about the naysayers are in our life, and sometimes those naysayers are people that we feel like have our back, should be our supporters, but the people that have been close to us for a long time. And we discussed that oftentimes that comes out of sometimes jealousy, sometimes misunderstanding, and sometimes just not understanding why we're doing what God's calling us to do, and thinking that it doesn't make sense, and wanting the best interests for us, and trying to take care of us. So this week we're looking at some naysayers that don't come from people we know, but they come from people who have a vested interest in us not accomplishing the missions that God has set out for us. So that's where we're at. So Nehemiah is rebuilding the walls around Jerusalem, and some characters show up who are in opposition to that. And these characters had a vested interest in the walls being broken down and having the gaps in it where they could come in and exploit the Jews and take advantage of them. So here we go. Now when Sanballat heard that we were building the wall, he was angry and greatly enraged, and he jeered at the Jews. And he said in the presence of his brothers and of the army of Samaria, "What are these feeble Jews doing? Will they restore it for themselves? Will they sacrifice? Will they finish up in a day? Will they revive the stones out of the heaps of rubbish, and burned ones at that?" Tobiah the Ammonite was beside him. Excuse me. And he said, "Yes, what they are building, if a fox goes up on it, he will break down their stone wall. Hear, O our God, for we are despised. Turn back their taunt on their own heads, and give them up to be plundered in a land where they are captives. Do not cover their guilt, and let not their sin be blotted out from your sight, for they have provoked you to anger in the presence of the builders." So we built the wall, and all the wall was joined together to half its height, for the people had a mind to work. But when Sanballat and Tobiah and the Arabs and the Ammonites and the Ashdodites heard that the repairing of the walls of Jerusalem was going forward, and that the breaches were beginning to be closed, they were very angry, and they all plotted together to come and fight against Jerusalem and to cause confusion in it. And we prayed to our God and set a guard as a protection against them day and night. In Judah it was said, "The strength of those who bear the burdens is failing. There is too much rubble. By ourselves we will not be able to rebuild the wall." And our enemies said, "They will not know or see till we come among them and kill them and stop the work." At that time the Jews who lived near them came from all directions and said to us 10 times, "You must return to us." So in the lowest parts of the space behind the wall, in open places, I stationed the people by their clans, with their swords, their spears, and their bows. And I looked and arose and said to the nobles and to the officials and to the rest of the people, "Do not be afraid of them. Remember the Lord, who is great and awesome, and fight for your brothers, your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your homes." So we have these guys, taunting Nehemiah's mission to build the wall, that his purpose that God has given him. Sometimes when we start to follow the dreams and the passions and the desires and the purposes that God has put on our lives, we'll hear people taunt and make fun of what we're doing and try and discourage us. But you saw they kept on building, and they kept closing up the gaps, and it made the people who'd been taunting and ridiculing them even more angry. And then they were threatening. And so during all of this, I don't know if you've noticed, but Nehemiah never responds directly to the taunters. He talks to his people that are with him on the mission and encourages them. he encourages them to keep doing the work that God has given them to do and to defend themselves. And so we should be continuing on in the work that God's given us, even when people are coming against us, and having each other's backs, praying over each other, supporting each other, encouraging each other, not letting the enemy come in and attack our brothers and sisters. And you see that Nehemiah brings this to God and not to the taunters, and he's trusting that God is going to have his back, and God's going to see the mission through, because it's a mission that God gave him to do. And he doesn't let them discourage him. He doesn't let them make him stop out of fear. He continues to push through and to continue to move forward, and he does it with the support of his brothers and sisters on his right and left. And as we're following the missions that God has put on our hearts to live for him and to serve his purpose in our lives, we're going to have people that come against us. We're going to have people that taunt us. We're going to have people that threaten us. And what we need to do is continue to move forward in the work that God has given us, and to rely on our brothers and sisters in Christ to have our backs and to be supporting us and defending us as we go. So that's what I got for you guys. I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you Thursday at Venture Vets. Cheers.